I thought the whole system was wrong because I'm seeing it from one end, but there doesn't seem to be a joined-up process. What I'm saying is that asylum seekers are being granted 5 years leave to remain. I have seen the Home Office appears to be getting rid of the queue, the backlog, by giving everybody 5 years leave to remain. Mm-hmm. They're all presenting homeless with us at the local authority, but the other element we're finding is single people presenting homeless. We're putting them in bed sits, and 2 years later they're applying for the Human Rights Act to bring their family over.
Now just to clarify, that's the indigenous, that's the local population, or that's people who arrive in this country, Samuel?
People arriving in this country, the asylum seekers coming through either through the airport or across the boats.
And what happens then if I come to your local authority area and I've just arrived from, Lebanon or wherever, I'm automatically given a flat, am I? What happens to me?
No, what happens is they make an asylum application to the Home Office, and the Home Office then will put them into those that barge thing and asylum seeker centres for a few years.
Right.
And what we noticed was there was the numbers, the backlog numbers were going up and up and up every year. You remember it said 50,000, 60,000, 80,000. But then over the last 6 to 8 months, we've noticed every week a lot more single asylum seekers are being given 5 years leave to remain, automatic leave to remain, and that's one way of getting the backlog down.
What's the impact for you and the work you do in this field? What does it mean to you?
They're literally walking through the door. The Home Office give them a month's notice to leave the property, and they present homeless to us, and we're having to put them into, at the moment, single people we can put into bed sits, so we're putting them into bed sits. That isn't too bad because it's moving them onto the private sector, but they do actually remain homeless, and they are actually able to apply to go on the council register for property, so they're doing that. So we're seeing that increase. But what's further happening is we're seeing a few years later they've applied for it, under the Human Rights Act, the right to family, to bring their families over. And literally we're having them get off the plane at Birmingham Airport and turn up at the authorities saying, right, I'm here now, accommodate me.
Gracious. Where do you find all the accommodation, lastly, Samuel? How do you get it all?
We don't. That's why the homeless budget is going through the roof. Yes. They're having to automatically, all councils at the moment, anyone homeless is automatically having to be put in a hotel for at least 2 months under legislation. We're struggling to move them after 2 months, so there's a huge increase in legal cases.
And let me ask you this lastly. The Prime Minister mentioned that since Calais, 24,000 people have been returned to their countries of origin. Do you see that easing of the situation as well?
No, there's 24,000 are being returned, but what's happening is we've already got 80 or 100,000 in here already. The ones being returned are due to adverse criminal records or antisocial behaviour or whatever reason they're returning now.
Okay, so they're not what I'm going to call a regular would-be asylum seeker or immigrant. They're ones with criminal records. Is this what's happening here?
I'm guesstimating that's what he's doing.
Well-meaning journalists like yourself must hold the government to account with the per capita spent on the amount of money spent on sending these on this whole matter. I accept your critique of the millions of pounds, and I also accept your critique on the duplication of powers which different agencies seem to have, and this needs to be streamlined. I accept your critique on those two things, and I'm also I'm a big critic. I'm a big critic of this government. I'm not a big fan of most things they've done, but this morning we have to give Keir Starmer credit especially for bringing on board the representatives of countries of origin.
What will it achieve? Tell me why that's not just a talking shop, Chandra.
Well, it's not. If it's a talking shop, then obviously I'm with you, and it's pointless. But this is international crime, Nick, as you appreciate, and it's not something which our border forces can deal on their own. There needs to be an international joined-up approach, and if we can convince governments of countries of origin to tackle this at their end.
Hold on, sir. What makes you think that the representatives of governments in Vietnam or Iraq, why is it beholden on them to do anything?
Because they want to work together with us on other matters. They want to continue doing business with us,
right.
And they want to continue to get aid from us and support, technological support. Why would any country want to work with another country? Because it's in their interest.
But all this is a talking shop, isn't it?
Well, you're not giving this. Keir Starmer is not a captivating speaker. I'm not blown away by his speech, but it's the essence of what he's trying to do on this matter, which we should allow some space for this policy to develop and fruits to be fruition. I think it's premature to dismiss this. It's really premature to dismiss the whole.
Let me ask you lastly, if we talk about this in 6 months' time, do you honestly think it will have had the slightest impact whatsoever, in all honesty?
I would want this to have
Of course I want, because I don't want people drowning, and I want the issue resolved, and I don't want, in some instances, children drowning in the middle of the channel. But do you honestly think bringing representatives of 41 countries is going to make the slightest bit of difference? Well,
if it's followed up with a constructive, collaborative action, then there will be some difference.
All right, Chandra, thank you. John's in Enfield. John, do you think it's going to make the blindest bit of difference?
Nick, I've said it before, but this whole meeting gathering, I think, is a whole gimmick. Yeah, mm-hmm. and I've said it before. It's time for smell the coffee. Yeah, and what it comes down to is the EU is not turning these boats back at the Mediterranean, whatever. Okay, so they're coming to the EU.
Well, that would be Italy. Do you mean when they arrive in Italy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, before they arrive, you've got a lot of these NGOs, which is another sort of corrupt thing anyway, just bringing these things in. But it comes down to the EU having to turn the boats back before they hit those countries. But the effect is, once they come into the EU, free movement of people, the number one place they go to is Calais in France to come over. And
I think a lot go to Germany, don't they? But yes, you're right. A lot of them want to come to England, come to the United Kingdom because of English. Yeah.
Yeah, and Starmer is basing this on the trust of the French. But we've seen lots of videos where the French are actually openly escorting these boats to come over. Yes. So I'll go back to what I've said before, and I think it's what Reform said we need to do, right? Number one, leave the ECHR. Number two, dismantle the Home Office. Number three, call a national state of emergency under the 1951 Convention, pick up the migrants and deposit them back to France.
They won't take them.
Sorry?
Why would the French take them?
Because we're a national state of emergency, Nick, and under the 1951 Convention.
No, but Paris won't respect. If France suddenly said we're in a state of emergency, Westminster wouldn't automatically say, "Oh, right, okay. Well, if Paris says that, we must do X."
Well, what we can start to do is kick them out of our fishing waters as well.
Why do you want to go to war with France?
Well, Nick, what's going to be happening over here is it's destabilising this country. I think you've got to look at it as a war situation. And on top of that, we had reports of Putin using potential spies and things to come into. There's a security...
hostile agents. Yes, I've read those reports. I mean, it's another one. If my granny had wheels, she'd been a bus. Are some of these people? We don't know. Are they briefed by the Kremlin? Of course, there's a possibility. John, I would say that not in all, but in some instances, reform policies are rather simplistic. We will leave the convention and we will declare a state of emergency. Therefore, we will return everyone back to France. It's not going to happen just because the British government says that we're in a crisis area. John, thank you. James is in Croydon. James, what do you want to tell me? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. If the system's broken, it's crazy.
Did we make any progress just now with the PM, do you think?
No, nothing's going to change. Look,
Lord.
You can it's crazy that you can just jump on a boat in France, come here, and then most people get to stay in a hotel. You get 3 meals a day. You possibly get a mobile.
I don't think you get a mobile phone. I don't think you do.
I've spoken to people. I've spoken to people.
Right.
They've had mobile. I've spoken to 3 people.
On what grounds do we give them a mobile? All right. If I thought
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, is it? Okay. All right. Okay.
It's there. It's there on the internet. What people have had.
Okay. All right.
But
What should it be, James? So I arrive here from wherever, I don't know, Afghanistan or Albania. What should I be given?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Okay.
I mean, look, until they stop people coming on the boats. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I know we're part of this the law that we can't. It needs to be stopped there. You say, look, you come here on a boat. You're at the bottom of the queue. You're not going to get asylum. It's simple as that.
How am I going to get asylum?
If you don't come on the boat?
No, but there's no other way to get here, is there?
There is. I mean, if they look, there's got to be. There is legitimate ways, and there's
Well, only if it's part of like the Ukrainian scheme or the Afghan scheme or whatever it might be. The others currently, and that is what many people would argue is the problem. There are no legitimate routes, so that's how people get here. I'm not supporting their illegality, by the way, but that's why they do it, James. It
is. Look, I get it. We need controlled immigration, but it's the system is broken. I mean, until we start doing something and saying something, you're not going to get anything. You're going to be at the bottom of the queue if you come here on a boat. Enough is enough. It's just.
I'm not against that. Enough is enough, and you're going to be absolutely. But I think we're just not going to. Otherwise, you will have. Well, is it 6,500 people, presumably living on the streets so far this year? I don't think that's going to work. James, thank you. Tony's in Bournemouth. How do we tackle what appears to be the attraction of life in the United Kingdom? Good morning.
Good morning. Echoing really what the text in the previous caller said. I believe you've got to start stopping these benefits for the illegal immigration. The genuine immigrants. The
legal ones. Well, they've come through the process. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we've screwed up their country like Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah, and we've got a responsibility there. But the illegal ones that have got no passport, no criminal record or anything like that, stop all the benefits. I went to Dublin recently. Taxi driver. I was speaking to an Irish taxi driver, a lovely guy, and he said to me the problem they've got in Dublin. He said, I picked up a woman yesterday. She had all Gucci bags, all high-end clothing bags.
Right.
Put them in his taxi. She couldn't get the pram in the taxi, and she just told the taxi driver to leave it there on the side because your government would give me a new pram tomorrow.
Do you believe that?
It come from the taxi driver's mouth.
Yeah.
So I believe what he's telling me, and you can see it. You can see the changes there. We're in a mess at the moment. To stop the benefits is the first port call.
And you'll just have them living on the streets, these people?
We just send them back. We pay.
You keep saying that, but they won't go. They won't go. France won't take them back, of course, Tony.
Well, we find out their country of origin. Yeah, which I'm sure we can do.
But bear in mind that again, that's a breach because we can't return people to anywhere where it's deemed they might be unsafe. So we can't send them by the current laws. We can't do that either. Because we have an agreement that we won't send back anyone where there wouldn't be safety is not guaranteed. It is so complex. Tony, thank you. I don't know. I'm not a coach. I'm not a taxi driver in Dublin, and I'm not a woman with a toddler. But the idea you just leave the stroller or the pram, I'll get another one. I don't know. Tony, thank you for your input. Matthew in Tottenham. Matthew, what can you tell me? Good morning.
Good morning, mate. Good morning. Yeah, no, just got a little bit more insight on this whole immigration thing because my partner's an asylum seeker. She arrived here 3 years ago, and she didn't take the route of a boat. She came from Ecuador,
right?
And she arrived in the airport, and she just claimed asylum there. So, you're saying there's no other ways of getting here. There is. You can just get on a plane. If you got a legitimate reason to claim asylum, they will process you. And
she was allowed to just have a one-way ticket.
Yeah, she arrived in the country. She was fleeing violence that's over in Ecuador with the cartels at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to go back, it would have been, for whatever reason, that she gave. She went through the process, and she's still in the process now. She was put in one of these hotels.
Right.
Fortunately, we decided to start living together. We now got a child together.
Yes.
But she doesn't get no benefits. She gets no support whatsoever. So all this talk, there was 2 of them to a hotel room when she was in the hotel. The food is very basic that they get. It's not all the bells and whistles that everyone seems...
She landed here without a visa?
She landed here without a visa. So this is what I'm saying. So, realistically, they need to get that right as well, because must be letting in thousands and thousands of people that just arrive on the planes every week.
Matthew, good luck with your partner's paperwork. I hope it comes through. Colin in Henley, you've got just under a minute. All yours. Colin, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Nick. The common denominator must be the boat. Why can't we put the money to good use to find out who the people are who are supplying the boats and stop them?
I think, isn't that what the Border Command, these hundreds of investigators we've just heard from the Prime Minister, isn't that what their job will be, do you think, Colin?
That would be great if they do it, but they must be able to find... If they found bin Laden in the middle of Pakistan in a little flat, why can't they find out who these people are that are supplying the boats?
You don't think once you've cracked down on one load of gangs, others will just pop up? Because this is an extraordinarily profitable business. Isn't that the danger?
Yes, but the boats are the common denominator. Without the boats, nobody can come anywhere.
Oh, you mean... sorry, you don't mean the gang so much. You mean supply of the boats.
I see. Yeah.
Right.
The other thing, Nick, 15 of my friends this weekend are going to France by rubber dinghy. Will I be stopped when I get to Calais?
Why are you going by rubber dinghy, just out of interest?
Because just to see if I could prove a point.
You're going to try and cross the channel by rubber dinghy to see if you can... Well, are you sure you want to do... Why do you want to do this? You're risking your life.
I don't want to do that, but it would prove a point. What would happen to me and my friends when I got to Calais?
I don't know. You'll have to give me a call on Monday, but I urge you not to do it. I don't know what the weather's like, but even with good weather, that's quite an enterprise you're doing, and you might be putting your life at risk.